Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Blake Cabot. I am the owner of FacePaintcom. And in the dark back there is the great Sally-Ann Lynch from over in the UK. And we're thrilled to have her. It's always been a joy. And Sally did some great lesson webinar a couple months ago. And she did sort of taught people how to do mandalas and sort of all sorts of shapes. And it was just fantastic. So with that said, I am thrilled to have her back, and we're going to see all sorts of different type of roses. So with that, Sally, take it away.
Hi, guys. Hope you're all doing well. I know this pandemic's a little bit of a mad one, but yeah, I'm going to show you all different style roses today. There's so many, and it might mean that there'll be some that suits some of you better than others, and I'll give you another little exercise as well, and then I'll show you how to place them in designs. So if you've got any questions, fire away and I'll see if I can help you with them. Okay, so to start off with, I'm using my blackboard, but what I want to show you now is when I zoom in here, we can get that in right, and hopefully Blake, you'll let me know if you can see that okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then...
Well, actually, I only see two of the circles.
Okay, so I've got three. Right, let me just move that crank over. Why is it not? Let me just move that.
Yeah, perfect.
Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, so all these are is I've cut out some of my practice boards, some old ones, and it means that they're a great surface to paint on. And the reason being, I'd recommend you doing something similar like this, is it's so easy when you're just doing it on a board or on your, you know, when you're practicing, obviously not on your skin, but when on a board, so easy to go over. And roses are fundamentally a circle shape. So I'm going to start using these when I teach in person moving forward, because I realized it was quite a cool idea. So I am going to, just bear with me one moment, let my water over here. Right, so I'm going to start painting on one of these, and you'll see exactly what I mean when I say the circle shape. Circle shape is really helpful. So let me just get my paint. Right, and today I'm going to be using some really cheap brushes just to prove to you as well that you could use any brushes. And these are the Royal and Lanicanal. I'm not sure how you say it, but they're for a pack of, I don't know, about 10 for about $12.99. So
yeah,
I thought
Royal Langnell.
I'd show you those because I keep using my brushes that I haven't bought out yet, and I don't feel very fair when I do that. So I'm going to use some of these, and they're a mixture of flat and angle brushes. So let me show you what I mean by this circle shape. So what I'm going to do is get into the circle here, and I'm going to keep within this circle shape. So it's really good exercise. Hold it firm as well. Obviously, what you could do is stick it down underside with some blue tack as well, so it will stop it bobbing around, or whatever you call it. White, I don't know what you call it in America, but it's called blue tack over here, and it just is some sticky product that keeps your item still underneath, but it's removable basically. So there you have your 5 outer circles, and then if you do your inner bud, so nice big bud for this one, and do your little bud inside there, your U shape, and then you can go around. So this is just a little gimmicky idea, but it's really going to help you keep your rose shape. Now this is my most simple rose, so you're going to do 1, 2, 3, crossover, so nothing meets in the middle, 4, otherwise it starts to look not very rose-like and a bit too long. So as you can see then, you've been able to keep it in a circle shape. So hopefully that will give you, and these just wash off then, because it's done on an old practice board, they wash off and you can just reuse them again. So that's just a little tip, just to start the lesson off on how you can start doing some of the roses like that, okay? So I'll move those out of the way, and I just did it on one of the whiteboards so it stands out. So in terms of roses, that was the outing. Now, also, if you ever want to make your own one strokes, this is one of my bespoke palettes. People also say with roses that they lose the white. So this one I've created, I've done 3 to 4
Whites.
of white and then a bold colour either side. And it means that you'll never lose your white ever again. And so let me just do another colour. This is Superstar Petrol Blue going into the white. And you will see how strong the white is there.
Right. Okay,
so I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, as you can see, you can only just see a bit of blue. If you wanted to do more blue, just go further down into that one stroke, grab that petrol blue, and then do the inner part, the bud, and then the little U shape. Then we'll do another U shape to continue that bud round, but you can see it's really picking up the blue, but you're not losing your white. Then you're going to go to the outer rose petal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if there's anything you're not happy about, you can always go over it and change it, because this is one stroke, and if you want to carry on filling around it and make more petals, then by all means do it that way. Okay, so that is basically rose number 1.
Okay.
Okay, and I've got loads here. If I can show you, like on here, there's so many different varieties, as you can see from here. So now I'm going to show you the in to out rows. And what we can do is we can use a smaller brush. So again, I'm using this cheap set that I told you about, that you can get very easily, because I'm sure they are based in America, that company, by the way. They're an American, because I Googled them, and they're an American-based company. So they're easily available to you guys, probably cheaper than what I can get them actually. So now we're going to do...
Rachel says she can watch you paint all day.
Oh, bless you. That's very kind of you.
A pretty international group. Lots of, we have Argentinians, people from Mexico, all sorts of places.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. So, right, we're going to do the bud now. So we're going small, and we'll do it that way. So you're kind of off-centering it. And then we're going to just start letting that rose take some shape. This style rose will give you a lot more blue, a lot more structure, but it does take more time. So just bear that in mind, because you're just finding different, looking at it, still keeping that circle shape in mind, and then just having a look where you think that next petal needs to go. So you can see it looks very different to that one. That's very open, what we call a very English rose. It's got a bit wet there. And this one is what I would call more like a French style rose. Very more intricate.
You're painting on a practice board.
I am, yeah. This is one of the big ones, because obviously I've got more room to teach you guys, but there's A4 and A3 and A2. And basically, because in America, I know you do your sizes different. So A4 is like a copy size sheet of paper. Right. And then you go up in the values. So A3 being 2 sheets of A4 and A2 being 4 sheets of A4 copy paper. So there you've got 2 styles, okay? And you can keep changing them up. So you can just change, it's not overly different, but there is some slight change in the structure. So that brush there was the one I just used then was this style. So it's flat and slightly longer than what not long, but longer than what I would normally use, but I really like them. So I'm just proving that you can use all different ones. And now I think what I'll do is I'll use a flat one. So it's big, it's sort of a bit wider than this one, and it's a flat one, okay? So, and these only came today, so I'm testing myself here, but it just shows you can do it if you put your mind to it. So now I'm going to do a slightly different rose here, and I'm going to do a circle shape. So if you're struggling with your circles, with the shape, when I say struggling with your circles, I know everyone can do a circle. I mean that your circleness of your rose, do it this way, like this. And this will blend it out. So you can, and I'm going to show you a really messy way after this as well. This is this one, and then I'm going to go back into my paint. And then what you can do is you've got the circle shape of the rose. So what you can start doing is structurizing the outside of the rose by leaning onto that base and doing some outer petals. You can also start in the middle, but I just think for those of you who worry about it being a bit wet, this will give you a bit more drying time. Does that make sense? Yeah? There's that. And then you can go in the middle and start forming your rose shape like so. Now this colour I'm using here, it's quite a hard one to work with because it's actually it's a fusion neon and it's quite dry. So if at all, say if I've done that now and you wanted it a bit stronger, I've got a darker purple in this palette here. So I could always go over. Beauty of one stroke is I can go over and I can make this pop a bit more. So as you can see, this purple, I think that's just a regular, it's either Superstar dark purple, like a dark purpley colour, or it's a global dark purple, I'm not quite sure. So there you can go over and make it pop a bit more. Okay, so that's another way of doing a rose, or you can be really, really messy as well. Let me use the angle brush here. Go back to that one. I can be really messy. Let me just.
And that's what, a 3/4 inch?
Yeah, it is. So as I say, I think the set was so cheap. I haven't got it, but I know because I didn't really need to buy any new brushes, and I've already got an old set of these. But I just thought, I know for this class, I'll get a set of new ones, never used before, a bit like a tennis ball at Wimbledon, and I'll go for it and see what happens. So there, I'm just making this messy little thing here, and what that will mean is that when you go into your strong white and deep red colour, you've got this base to create quite a nice rose, but you've got the colours coming in from behind it too. So it's kind of creating a blend as well, like so.
How do you make your strokes so neatly?
Basically, I roll them. So they roll them in my hands. And I know all the different temperatures of each paint because I've been making them so long. And then it's no secret because I'm not someone who keeps secrets. I basically use, do you know what they use for screen printing? The lino. Do you
The
know?
what?
You know screen printing?
Yeah.
They use something called lino. Lino, which you then carve out the design and then you screen print with it. So it's quite a good little item. And I cut that to size of each one stroke. And then I use a J cloth over the top of my paints. And then basically you stamp them down so they're all perfectly flat and there's no gaps and it's all very neat. I never started off doing that. When I look back at some of the ones I used to make, they're so different. So here, when you've got this on the outside, I just think it makes a really nice funky rose with that little bit of background coming out, and you can attach your leaves to it like that. See, and obviously you can put your leaves here. And at the side, because obviously if we don't get the leaves right on the roses are going to look a bit impaired too. So it's quite important to also get your leaves properly set against the rose as well. So although we always say it's a rose lesson, you almost need the leaf on the side of it as well. So as you can see, I've changed the green, the dark green, to its on its outside. Okay. So that's 4 different styles. Then you've got another one, and then we'll go on.
So far, which is everybody's favorite? What's your favorite, Sally, out of those 4?
My favorite is still my original one because it's just so fast, and people know, they see it straight away as a rose. So you get that, oh my gosh, look how quickly that rose has happened. So to me, and probably because I know it the most, I sometimes change the style of how the bud, the leaves form. But I still think that one, these are all very nice, but from a distance, they get lost. You know, say if you're on a big stage and you did a theatre production, there's one way of painting. These do look lovely, but they do sometimes, they're great from up close, but when from a distance, they lose their impact. Whereas these bigger ones still, to me, keep their impact a little bit better.
I would have gone with the dark blue myself, but I love the dark blue one.
Yeah, it is lovely, but it does take longer. And obviously, we're bearing in mind with the pandemic in mind, we're going to have to start making sure we're quicker than what we normally would paint. So that's what I always think we just need to be careful of. I'm just going to change to a different palette so I don't get bored. Let me use this one. So now I'm going to do, this is just a different style of positioning of leaves. So it's similar to the ones I've just done, but just ever so slightly different. So people can take some options on what they want to do. So excuse the state of this one, I was using it earlier.
Zacella likes the pink one.
The pink one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody likes all of them, honestly. They're
everyone has different choices. So can you still see me? Because if not, I can move.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I can see you.
So this one, again, same principle. Always think 5 outer petals. So you're swooshing it all nicely, making it all meet. No gaps. So what you want to try and avoid is having gaps between each petal. So in fairness, you could almost not take your brush off and just keep it joined, but you need to breathe and relax in between each stroke as well, especially with roses. It becomes quite hard when you're learning. And then we're going to do the bud again. Yeah.
Oh, this is quite different.
Yeah, and then what you can do is do it this way. So one here, and then one here. And you could do another one there. So it's slightly more stylized than those. But to the customer, they probably wouldn't see any difference, but us face painters do. So did you get that? So you go up there, down there. Obviously, you probably would do it a different way to me. I'm left-handed. So anyone left-handed, you can do it. You'll start the opposite side to me, I think.
Right.
So that one's quite sweet, and it's more symmetrical, but doesn't look forced, if that makes sense. So that's another style. And then we can do even, well, keep to the same colour. We can do it, in fact, I'll use the flat brush for that because it's going to be easier to swap the colours over. So I'll move back to the flat brush. I'm going to go into that same paint, and I'm going to change it up slightly. So 1, I'm going to reverse the colour, 2, reverse that colour, same as that one, 3, go back to the white on the outside and do an extra white there. Can you see that one?
Yeah.
And then we're going to, just very different, and then we're going to miss the bud, cheat, and just go straight into the U. So there's all different ways you can do these. And you're going to do 1 swish over, 2 swish over, 3 swish that way, 4 swish that way, and see where you need that 5th one. And you could even just put a few more in if you feel like you need them in. So you can see it's slightly different because you've got some of the darker on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to just fill it in some more, you can just dab the brush and create some more petals. So there's no fast, hard rule, other than I think it's nice to have the 5 petals on the outside.
And what's the Lori was asking about, can you show buds? I guess the question is how the techniques for buds, I presume, is what you've been showing on a bunch of these.
Yeah. Oh no, I'll show you the buds. Don't you worry. So what I'll do is I'm just going to do a rainbow rose, and then I'll show you the buds. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So if you want to do again different ways to doing rainbow roses. So I'll show you. I've just got this color here. So you just got to go for it with the rainbow rose. I'm wondering if I'm out of shot maybe now. Let me just move that down a bit. I'm running out of room. Can you see me now? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a pinky colour. What should we do next? No plan of action. So to wash your brush out quickly, let's go into some green. 3. What should we do next? We'll go into these browny gold colours. 4. Let me go into a stronger purple. Let me use that palette I was using earlier, only because I know that one purple in there isn't that strong for this. Let's go into this one. 5. Can you see we've got the rainbow going on?
Right.
And then we're going to decide where to place the rest of the colours to create that rainbow. And again, this is from outside in, and then I'll show you inside out with the rainbow, because I know everybody really likes the rainbow roses, but they kind of never know how to go with them. And of course, you can use a lot smaller brush than me. If for any reason and your paint's too wet and like there and you're doing it on the skin, just dab it on your towel and go over anything that don't feel like you've ever got to wash it off. Else your
And that's a 3/4. That looks like a 3/4 flat brush.
Yeah, it's quite big. I probably wouldn't use this size normally, but I'm just trying to show you that I've only just picked up this today. I'm going for it, which is that's what I want to encourage, is that you don't always have to have the brush, especially during this pandemic and people are struggling with their finances. And then if you wanted to pick up some more of the darker colors, just reverse your paints. Like I'm going to go into that orange one, and then you could just pick up some of that. Can you see? So you're reversing the color and creating much more of rainbow colors. Let me see if I can put some green in there. And you're just introducing more of the rainbow in there. Now that was quite a big brush. If you struggle, I'll go to a smaller flat one for the inside outside rose, and that's going to be the rainbow. Let me move this over. This is why I got this big board here, because it actually helps and keeps swapping them over. Let me just move that slightly.
Okay, good.
There. Let me just get this, let me get my teeth out. I've got some splodges. Let me just move those in case they come into shot. Right, that's that done. Right, okay, so I'm going to go to this smaller, much smaller, I think it's a 1/2 inch flat. And I'm going to do the more structured rose, doing the rainbow. So here we go. So we're going to start with a little bird. We will, in fact, let me use my one that's got more white in, because then I can use it like a double dip and just pick up the colours I want. I'm going into this one. And
Thanks, Rachel.
we will go into.
Thanks,
You'd
Christy.
laugh if you saw the conditions I'm painting in. I'm painting kind of nearly in the dark because my lighting here with my high ceilings is awful. So it's it's a little bit dark, but I think
Actually, it shows up pretty well on this.
yeah,
So.
that's why. Yeah, but if I put the other light on, oh my goodness, like the last time we had to mess around with it, you wouldn't, you'd have a right shine on it. So this will be show the rainbow up much more because I've gone to a much smaller brush and have more control. But it just shows you so many different ways in which way you can do these roses.
Mm-hmm.
But can you see it does take more time because you've got to just think about, like now I'm thinking, shall I put one there and so on and so forth. But you know, it's still quick, but me personally on the job, I'd do it the other way.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So there you've got that one. Let me just take, I've got some interference on my screen, so let me just take that off. And then let me put the, let me get, I'll do a leaf. So I think it looks much better when you do some leaves beside them as well.
Mm-hmm.
The rose is always, it's got something beside it. And then we're just going to do a little leaf like so. And there. And here. Like that. And there you go. Okay, so you've got two very different. And again, you can do the rainbow with the circle one as well. So you could do different, the one where I showed you going around the circle like that. You could do different colors until you get really small in the rainbow and then start doing all the different colors again. And that's a really nice variation as well. But you asked about the buds as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with regards to the buds, basically, it's just the inner part of the rose. Let me just move this over again so I can get some more space. Right, I'm moving those out of the way. And I think you can see me now. So the bud, you can do it, make it nice and jaggedy there. And just do a little center bit, like so.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just leave it like that, or you can just pull across just to give it a bit of finesse.
If you could, sometimes your hand gets in the way of the camera a little bit. If maybe
Sorry.
No worries.
Let me do that again. It's because I think it's the way the crank of the thing is. So let's do that again.
Uh-huh.
So there.
Okay.
A little U. Is that okay?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we pull it a little across there. And a little across there. It just gives it a little bit more finesse to pull those little two in. Could leave it, you could leave it, can leave it like that because that is a little bud. I think if you just, basically you're using the edge of this is the angle brush, so you're just sweeping in that very tip of the brush just to create a little bud shape, yeah?
Yeah.
And then when you do the leaves, I've got all sorts of brushes from this set here. This is a little tiny angled one, teeny tiny. Let me show you compared to the brush I've just used. So
Yeah.
tiny.
Like, what, a 3/8 inch or something?
And yeah, and you could double dip with this one as it's quite good to have.
Hi, Nadine.
So you could do very little bud-like leaves, like so. Like that. And there we have it.
Yeah.
And also you can use these for quite nice detailing as well. Like you can drag them and you can use them for teardrops and all sorts. So they're quite handy. to have. And as I said, I haven't used this yet, so I'm really putting myself through my paces here. But I'm just trying it again. I just want to show you guys that you can do it. It is achievable. There we go. So that's how you do the little. That's how you do the little buds.
Nice.
Yeah. So now what I'll do is I'll start putting them with some little designs. So that's the little show how to do the.
One person asked about ghost roses. I've seen them, sort of the all white roses.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do many of them, but I've done some on a bottle. I've done some on because what I wanted to say to you guys as well, I know there's quite a few people that have kind of put all their paints away, but you should. Face paints can be used for so many different mediums. These are face paints, and it's on nice thick black paper, so you could make your own cards or picture frames. So these are face paints on thick paper, so you can put that in a frame, and that's thick paper as well. And also you can, believe it or not, I don't know if I can show you, I don't know if you'll see this because I've got my water in it. Can you see the roses on it?
Yeah, kind of.
That's face paint.
Wow.
That's face paint with spray varnish on it.
Uh-huh.
And then what I do, because the spray varnish on the glass makes a frosting, where I don't want the frosting to appear, I only want the frosting on, I only want the varnish on the roses, on the glass. So what I do is I get some acetone nail varnish remover and I delicately wipe around the glass where I don't want the varnish, because also you don't want to always leave, I've left that side free because that's the drinking side, because if you're using varnish, you don't want varnish anywhere near your mouth, particularly. So face paints are so versatile, but also with this one stroke technique here, this is acrylics. So with this technique, if you keep practicing and practice with your face paints, you'll be able to make lots of lovely gifts as well. So, but yeah, with the ghost rose, I'm not your, I think, who is it Lango who does lovely, nice ghost roses?
Yeah, Elaine does. Elaine does nice ghost roses. I've seen those.
Ask her, yeah. So, yeah. So, right, I'm going to show you some designs. Let me get my, so here, this is the daisy practice board. This is based on my daughter. So this one is really easy. So I'm going to show you this one and show you how you achieve it, okay? And let me just get another board. Let me do it. I will do it actually on Elaine Go's daughter, that's Charlotte. So let's do it on here. And I'm going to use a little brush, which I've used already. So it was because we're going to do a little rose. You can downsize, but that takes a bit of practice using a bigger brush downsizing. So I'm going to start, hopefully you can see that, yeah? And you basically start off with the center rose, like this. And it's such a quick rose because you're not doing all the inner petals, but it still looks like a nice full rose.
Actually, if you could turn I know it's a little weird, but it's kind of sideways the way the camera is.
Do you want me to turn it?
Either turn the camera or turn the, that's upside down.
Oh,
God. And now the camera went off.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
See, I told you my camera's so sensitive.
It is.
Right. Hang on a second.
Sorry about this, folks.
Right, I'm going to have to sign back in.
Okay.
So, sorry, guys. Technical problems.
Very much so, but it's okay. We'll be back in 1 second.
Video.
Okay. Just make sure not to connect with audio, and also
worry.
switch the cameras so it's the reverse of what you're doing. There we go. Perfect. No, the opposite of that.
Is it in?
Now there it is.
Okay. Cool. So that's the right way. Let me not touch. Yeah, that's it. When I touch this, honestly, it's so sensitive. Right. It's the new iPhone 11, and the other one wasn't as sensitive as this one. So 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then you're just going to avoid, where I usually say do the upper, we're just going to go straight in like that. And then we're just going to do a slightly wider U shape. And there you have, you're going to leave it like that. So it's kind of in between a flower and a rose, but everyone, your customers will see that as a rose. And then we're going to just do 1, 2, 3 with the same color. And it's almost like an alternative to double dipping, which will be a godsend if we're not allowed to double dip because of the pandemic with our brushes, which lots of people are talking about. So
one question somebody asked, Mike asked about thorns. Do you do thorns on your roses?
No, not really. I mean, thorns, you just give the impression. So it's like a little thorn. You just do little bits coming out like that sort of thing. But I try and keep it. Thorns would be okay, like to me, Halloween time, but I don't really put thorns in on my pretty designs. And also it's just, that's going to take you a lot longer with those little tiny details. And to be honest, it won't be picked up that much on the design. So all the work and the time it's took you to do it, it's not going to be that beneficial. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me anyway.
We've got to get quicker, not slower during this pandemic, because we don't know how long it's going to be with us. So basically, if you look what I'm doing, I'm just filling up the space on this design and just putting colour where you think you want it. So these little, you may want to use an angle brush for this, which I probably would normally do, but I'm just trying to show you how I'm just picking up brushes that I have here that were new today and kind of going for it, which is what I'd expect you guys to also have a go at. See where it takes you. You might surprise yourself. So here I'm just going to try and, normally I would go like over that, but I'm going to cross the camera, so I'm trying to make it visual for you guys. We're coming at a different angle, and then this has got little tips of orange in. So you're just same brush, alternative dubbed it, and then you're kind of dabbing to create that line. So we're just using the same brush. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go in front of the camera a little bit just because I won't be able to do that one. And then just have a look at it and see where else you want any of the colors. And you might want to introduce a bit more of the green. This should take probably a minute or so in the real world. So this is not.
That's not a long design.
Not a long design at all, no. And then you can obviously go in with your detailing if you choose. You could leave it like that, or I'm just going to go in my green, and you can just do little embellishments here. And that's what they are. They're embellishments just to make it pop a bit. I'm sorry if I've gone over by the camera just to do that side. Sometimes it's unavoidable. And just little kicks of colour, like foliage, as if it's coming down by Charlotte's face. And the good thing is when we send designs out to get new business, people think we've painted on real faces. So they're quite good to send out to potential customers as well, but you haven't actually had to borrow a child.
So as someone said, a lovely quick design. I mean, it's really
exactly
beautiful, clever. There's a lot of praise for this design.
Oh, thank you guys. That's very kind.
It's a kind group.
We need kindness during these hard times, don't we?
We need kindness during these times. I couldn't agree more.
We do. Kindness and sharing. So you can put some little dots in if you want, but obviously all these little things will take a little bit extra time, but with a design like this, you will have time to do it. Like you can just highlight some white over the top if you want to. So is that one okay for everyone?
Yeah,
that's great. One. So that's that one. So we'll do away with Charlotte and Daisy. Put them over there. they can go to bed. And then we have Orphe, which is Elsie Custers. You had her on the other day, and the lovely Orphe.
Yeah.
Glass, which was really nice.
Yeah, we had her just last week, right?
I know, I saw.
Yeah.
Orphe's lovely. She's a doll. Right. So we have that one, and then we have the real. Here she is. Hi, Orphe. So we're going to paint her with this lovely rose design here. So I'm going to show you how nice and quick this is again. Okay. It doesn't have to be the same color as on here, but the example will be the same. So I'm going in to a nice bright red and white, but you could do a nice, I think this one had a bit of chiffon in it, chiffon lemon. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can do here, this is where the buds come into play. So 1 and 2, and you can do a little bud there, another one there, and then we can go around creating shape. So you're already doing 3 inner buds there. That's what you normally do. Instead of the 5, like I showed you on a little girl's face, you do 3 inner buds because it's a lot quicker as well, and there's not enough space. That's what I have people say when I teach them is, oh, you're teaching us 5 inner petals, but how is that room on the child's face? And I said, it isn't. You just down the amount of inner petals that you're doing. So you do 3 instead of 5.
I see.
That's the rule of thumb. Okay, so that's there. Then we're going to put in some leaves. Let me see if I can find one with a nice bit of...
Rebecca thinks you make this look so easy.
Oh, well, easy when you know how, hey? It's taken a lot of practice.
She didn't do this day 1.
No, I certainly didn't.
Day 2, maybe.
Yeah, no. Weeks. I remember practicing for weeks, and my here's the leaves coming in, and so can you see I do it side to side for symmetry, a bit like the muscle memory class I did. I do it all.
Maybe if you could move that a little over to the right, please.
Oh yeah, I can see that's gone out.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect.
Right. Okay, so what I do is I did the center, then I did that rose, that part of that rose, then that rose, and I do everything symmetrical so you keep the balance. So it's still like a bit like a muscle memory exercise. So we've done that leaf there, then we go to that one, and then you can work a little few up there, like so, and you're getting this bit of this crown thing going on right there, and then you can put... I'm just going to use the very tip end of my brush there to get that little impression that there's a leaf sitting behind there. And then again, it's just down to embellishment. You could either use black, but I'm just going to go into a very I've got one here that's green and black. So I'll kind of go into my one stroke and mix them up so I get a dark green. Kind of work with my paints like an artist would. So I do they do get messy, but they clean up really well as well, which all paints do, to be honest, if you've got good quality paints.
Sure. You know, one of the things I like about the designs that you've been doing is that if you were wearing a mask, you could still make this design. Yeah.
And this is going to be crucial. Because anyone over, I don't know what it's like in America, but anyone over 11 has to wear a mask in the UK. So moving forward, it's going to be quite important that we keep those designs. Because we are allowed to arm paint here, and I did a little party on Saturday for 6 little girls age 10, and carried out all the safe guidance, and it was fine. I know some people are saying don't do it, but where I live, I contact the council and I go by the guidance set out by them. Right. And we live in a very low very low risk area, always have done. People mainly in the main abide by the rules. And I haven't even ventured into a shop yet. I've been doing everything online. So I'm pretty safe.
Rachel calls you a national treasure.
Oh, that's so sweet. I don't know about that, but I'll take it. Oh, and on this design, I know what I've just forgotten. I'm just going to finish off with the nice little leaf under there because it gives it that, you know, the princessy kind of feel coming down a little bit there. So there we go. And that's that one. So that's easy.
That's very easy. Lovely design. Lovely design.
That's that one. So I'm going to say goodbye to Orphe. Thanks, Orphe. And what else do we have here? We have a little side design on Daisy. So we're going to do that one. How are we doing for time, Blake? We all right?
Yeah, we got about 8 minutes left.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So do people feel like they're learning how to do different roses? That's the main thing.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of comments about lovely roses and such. So, yeah.
Okay.
If you could move that a little bit more in the
I will do. I'm just going to move that now. Is
Perfect.
that better?
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. So this is going to be a, I don't know if I showed you that design then. It's going to be a rainbow rose, side rose. Again, sometimes you would normally come down here, but if they're wearing a mask, we need to keep it up a little bit higher. So I've tried to do these designs COVID secure. Okay, so bear that in mind. I've had some tentative inquiries for next year and some really like some of our regular big like Cheltenham Racecourse. I don't know if you've heard of Cheltenham Racecourse in America. They were kind of on the news a lot for spreading the virus because a big meeting went ahead.
Right.
But it was the government telling them that they could go ahead. We did have a little tiny spike, but not massively, not that put us on the map or anything. Because we had 80,000 people attend when everywhere else was shutting down. Anyway, we do their face painting, and they've given us a tentative inquiry for January, but only tentative because it could all change, couldn't it?
It could.
We don't know.
You know, it's like it's like fire on leaves. I mean, it just as soon as it hits an area, it spreads like wildfire.
We just don't. Nobody knows, do they? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So there is the lovely rainbow. Then we can do a little.
Sally, somebody asked if you could send me photos on email later on so I could post them. People would like to see them.
Of course. Just send them to you on email.
Yeah.
Or messenger, or either.
Mail would be best.
Mail. Okay, yeah, of course I will.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll post them on my page as well. So if anyone follows me on there, I'll send them to Blake, and then I'll do them via there as well.
Rita asked, do you dip the same brush in multiple colors? And do you wash the brush out?
No, wash the brush out. That's how quick you can do it. So you just give it a squeeze on your towel. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of colour left over. That's what makes it a bit unique and a bit arty, a bit more realistic, a bit more loose in the way you work. But as you can see, I'm keeping it higher. And I've used a different, like they're different one strokes, but you can see I've just dipped into several there. If you wanted to make it pop a bit more, but obviously I've used the one stroke with a lot of whiting, so you shouldn't have to do this part with that.
Do you often outline your roses, or?
I do. I do if I think the child needs it, but I think with COVID, I'm not so sure how long. You know, I mean, this takes a couple of minutes, but here now I would probably go in like the dark green. I'm just trying, because I'm kind of painting a little bit in the dark here, but can you see how gently? I'm just using a very delicate liner brush.
like
I
a script
barely
liner.
touch,
Uh-huh.
I barely touch the edges because otherwise, if you take it too dark, it really, really spoils the softness of the design. But if you do ever go too dark and you don't like what you put on, grab your towel and dab on that dark line and you'll take it off straight away. So don't worry if there's something that you've done that's too dark. Let me just show you an example with this towel that's got my brushes on. So if I did a whopping big green line here that I don't like, just get your towel and dab, and you'll take most of it away, and you can kind of put it back to how you want it. And you can do that with lots of the paint. So if you think it's too watery or it's going to drip, just grab your towel, your little flannel or whatever it is you use, and just wipe away. Obviously, we need to be a bit more careful with COVID. You know, you'd probably have to have a flannel for each one. It's like redoing everything that you've taught, you know, you've been training to do, isn't it? And I tell you what, it wasn't easy on Saturday to rethink how I normally work. But you could get these vinyl screens as well. Have you seen them? The plain screens, like, you know, roller banners. You can get those and you can put some COVID writing on it, telling your customers how far they've got to stay away and not to crowd you. And they act as a shield. They're really good and they're quite inexpensive. So that's it, really. That's that design.
That's fantastic. That's perfect.
So they're very, very simple and easy. And who doesn't love a rose?
Doesn't love a rose. And I think we've covered more designs here than we've ever covered ever. So this is pretty impressive.
You know me, Speedy Gonzalez, Sally-Ann Lynch here.
Exactly. I like the national treasure. I think that's a great line.
Yeah, I prefer that than Speedy Gonzalez.
I think that's
no
even better.
Speedy, but
exactly.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, thanks everybody for joining me. You know, please go to FacePaint.com and think of us when you're looking to buy face paint.
Definitely. And Blake sells our boards there as well. So if you want any boards.
Absolutely. We absolutely sell Sally-Ann's boards on our website. You've just
done a new order, haven't you? So that's good.
Yep. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so thank you very much. And we got some webinars coming up. And those webinars are, what's the next webinar? Here's the page. Well, I'll just tell you the webinars. Oh, here it is. We have Vanessa Mendoza doing his and her sugar skulls. Laura Pennock is going to do the power of the circle on August 24th. Vanessa Mendoza is August 17th. And Marcela Bustamante is going to do airbrush tattoos on August 31st. So with that, thank you very much, Sally. We have to have you back as always. What are we gonna do next?
Well, do you know what? I've just been starting to do some new designs, some mask ones. Let me just quickly grab it, and then you can see if you like them.
Oh, I definitely am gonna like them.
I don't want to all just be about. It's not all about. Can you see this one?
Yeah. Okay.
So we've been doing a little dragon, a little snake. So we could do really different ones.
Okay, we could do animal masks.
We can do. I'd like doing cute little animals, and I can show you how to really break them down quickly again. You know me, Speedy.
Yes, Speedy is right. So sadly, I'm booked through. I don't know. It would have to be like December 21st. Is that?
Oh yeah, Christmas time.
Okay, so we'll do mask animals with Sally on December 21st.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great.
Thank you again, Blake.
Okay, thanks everybody. Have a good evening.
Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.